briefly wrap up this wrap up this
Hey, Noel. Okay, hold on. Yay!
Yay, we did it.
Did it.
Hey Sheila.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I can't complain.
Oh my god, I just asked you on the live. I was like, what should we talk about? And then I didn't read your message. What did you say?
I said that maybe we can have a continuation of what you were talking about in regards to like anxiety. Because only reason why is because I just finished watching Inside Out 2, and a big portion of it was about anxiety and how anxiety overrides all the positive gunk and all of that extra stuff. So yeah, and then if we want to talk about anything else, we can always talk about it, like anything else. I'm open. Like I'm very open. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a great topic. Anxiety is definitely, it's actually kind of like manifesting. I was going to say manifesting in reverse, but not in reverse. It's kind of like, it's like the way that we practice manifestation, like kind of against our favor, obviously not on purpose, you know? But I think the problem with like anxiety and things like that is that we don't allow it. Hey, everyone. Hey, Lyric.
Chris for all the likes. Hey, Lyric. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, I think part of the problem with anxiety and other emotions that allow them to just keep going is one that we're afraid of them. And if you're afraid of something like anxiety, that's just more anxiety on top of anxiety, or even, sadness or anger or whatever, any of these negative emotions. It's like we don't have space for them. They don't have a place here. They're going to ruin everything that we got going on. But when we can just kind of allow space for them and just become curious about it, then it can kind of tell you something. Like it can tell you the story or the program that you're running that's opposing what it is that you're trying to create. But I think so many people are like, no, like I can't have anxiety. Like I saw Inside Out too. And I honestly, I cried watching Anxiety because I know how that feels. I think most of us, like when she was like going all across the board and like wiling out, like I think we know like how that feels inside, but anxiety, I don't want to say that it's a part of us, right? But I think it's better to accept it and give it space to have its experience than to try and push it away or make it wrong or anything like that. What do you think? Like, what do you think about anxiety?
Seeing as I just got over having like a major spiral of anxiety, yeah, it sometimes can be a little brat. Like, she definitely can be a little bit of a brat. It makes you tend to think things that you shouldn't be thinking, even though they're like not true. Like, it's not true. Like, it's evidently okay, it's not true. But it's like, oh, it's trying to keep you safe where you're at. And it's like, what is this doing? Why is this serving me? Like, is this serving me right now? Like, what? Like, why? And it causes you to kind of like shut down that ability to like be like, no, okay, this isn't true. And you kind of like stay and dwell in that feeling, in that space of anxiety. And it's like, it's a lie. It's not true. Like, if it was actually true, if the things that you're saying or the things that are causing you that anxiety were happening right now and were actually true, it wouldn't look like that. Like, it wouldn't, your life would be a complete shit show if that was the case. But I think that where I think we kind of like forget, or where some people forget, everyone's manifesting journey, like, looks completely different. Like, not, there's no cookie cutter way of it being. But at the same time, it's like, if you have had predominantly negative things happening to you, you can't expect to just like be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get into the law of assumption and my life is just gonna quickly overnight just change, and like literally just go from thinking negative one minute to thinking positive in the next minute. That's not realistic. I mean, be delusional, be mystical. I don't like saying delusional on my platform. I like using the word mystical for a better frame of mind. But you can't go from one polar extreme opposite to the next polar extreme opposite. It does nobody justice. Thank you, girl. Hey. It just doesn't work. And I think from my experience, being somebody who has undergone trauma, I found law of assumption in 2020, and I've had wishy-washy, mixed-watch stuff, but doesn't mean that I'm not gonna continue doing the work. No, I keep doing it and keep going and have my bad days just as much as anybody else has their bad days.
Yeah. I love how you just said that because, unfortunately, there's a lot of kind of, I mean, and I get it because, like, law of assumption, it's a limitless thing. So everybody's like, yeah, everything should change tomorrow. All of this trauma that I have doesn't matter. Like, I can just manifest above it and around it. And the thing is, like, the way that I'm kind of seeing it is like ourselves is kind of like a puzzle for us to put together. And the puzzle isn't necessarily preformed like usually puzzles are. Like, we are putting together the pieces of us in the way that we want them to be. And depending on how scattered those pieces are, depending on the things that have gone on in your life, depends on, it's like basically doing a 10 puzzle piece versus an 1,000 puzzle piece. You know what I mean? And so for a lot of people, like, they're looking at, people that are like, I don't know, 16, and they're like, I manifested an iPhone in 3 days. And they're like, wow, why can't I manifest my SB in 3 days? But they're manifesting an iPhone. You're manifesting love when you have all this trauma and all this belief about the stories about yourself, about love, about fear, about all of these things. That's kind of, I mean, I hate to say in your way, but kind of opposing what the story that you want to tell is now. And so I think that the unrealistic, and it's not even like, I hate to say that, right? I hate to say unrealistic because nothing's unrealistic per se, but there are things that are more likely than others, right? It's more likely that, I don't know, let's take again, someone who's 16 and is manifesting, a date to the prom is probably going to have an easier time than someone who's 40 and been through 3 divorces and had all kinds of traumas happen to her in her life. And the woman that's 40 is comparing herself to the results of the woman that's 16 and wondering, well, they said it works in 3 days, right? And then, people on YouTube, they don't want to say this. They don't want to talk real shit. Are we allowed to cuss on here? So they don't want to talk real shit. They want you to just watch their video. They want you to buy their course. So they're not going to say, they're not going to be actually for real with you. But yeah, it's like the more willing and patient that you are with yourself, actually the quicker that you get results. Like I keep telling people, stop making your self-love journey about getting something. That's so fake to yourself. That's the equivalent of a man wine and dining you so he can sleep with you. You're not impressed by that. It doesn't matter where he takes you, what he does. If his intention is just to sleep with you, then that like trumps everything that he did. That's how self-love feels about you, when it's like, okay, I'll do some self-love so I can get this guy. I'll do some self-love so I can get this thing. But I don't really care about myself or love myself. I just want this thing to come in, right? It's fraudulent as fuck. So, but when you really actually, like, I keep telling people, and it sounds so cliche, but loving myself was the best thing I ever did. It was the best technique, if you want to call it that I ever did. Like, I did so many techniques, and I was getting little inklings of shit. But deeply, genuinely, like, loving myself and being curious about myself and interested in myself made me magnetic to all the things that I wanted without so much effort and trying. Mhm.
It just makes it genuinely think that it makes it 10 times easier. Like, it makes it 10 times easier when you genuinely love yourself.
It
Like,
does. I can't really hear you, Sheila.
can't hear me. How about now?
You're like kind of coming in and out, but it sounds like you're like far away.
Okay, how about now?
Yes, that's better.
Okay. No, I think that when you genuinely are like loving on yourself and being obsessed with yourself and treating yourself like you're the main character, then it's like you're not just gonna accept just any other like BS. Like you're gonna put up boundaries or gonna it forces people to have to treat you differently because yeah, they're like, wait a minute. And it doesn't just apply to it doesn't just apply to females, it also applies to men. Like men need this information just as much as women need this information. That's why um I love, I don't know if you watch him on YouTube, but Sean from Here Nor There.
I haven't watched that yet. I've heard of them though.
It's absolutely amazing. I'm a mod for his Facebook group and Discord and his YouTube stuff. So I'm a mod for him, and I've been listening to him since I want to say January, and it gives you that no BS approach from a man's perspective. And it's different when you hear it from a man's perspective as opposed to hearing it from a woman's perspective, because it's like if you're a woman manifesting an SP, that's a guy. You want to know you want to know from the guy's perspective more so from a woman's perspective. You
Right.
want to know what they're thinking or what they're feeling or how they manifested their SP. It's like the one thing a person one of my friends, Kevin, he's been a friend for a very long time. Gotta hit him up. He's probably thinking about me because that was random. Um, he gave me one piece of advice that will stick with me for the rest of my life. If you want to be married, you don't go to a single person asking a single person for advice. You go to the married couple that has been married for 30 years. If you want to be rich, you don't go to the homeless person on the street asking for investment advice or money advice. You go to the billionaire who actually freaking has money, who's made successful businesses. You gotta be careful with who you're getting your advice from. You gotta use your discernment. You gotta use your advice. Like, if you've never made $1 billion, or you don't have the life that I wish to have or want to have, why? Like, why are you listening to that person? Obviously, it takes work. Okay, yes, it takes work to do what it is that you need to do, but there's also a give and take. You gotta be, there's a give and a take. There's a allowing yourself to feel your emotions. Like I used to shut my emotions off. Like I didn't want to feel my emotions. I didn't want to deal with my emotions. I just would shut it off. But all that did was create anger. I would react. Like it did nobody justice.
Yeah. 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 I love that. I love that. And I'm going to check Sean out too, because I think I'm a part of the Facebook group, but I don't think I've ever seen his actual channel. So I'm going to check him out. But yeah, definitely holding space for definitely holding space for your emotions. Um, it just allows you to process them. And then it's like I say, like your emotions have things to tell you. Like when you get anxiety or, whatever you're feeling, it's telling you the story that's running. So many people are not aware of the stories that they're running because they're just trying to change it so much, but you're not even aware of what you're trying to change. You think that it's this furthermost thing, but really what I find is like a lot of times it comes down to fear. Like when we're really rejecting something, when our body or our experience is really rejecting something and not allowing it to manifest, there's something usually around fear of receiving that. What does that mean? Right? So like with SP stuff, there's a belief like a lot of people have that love is pain. If you grew up in a toxic household, if you grew up in violent households, if you saw, horrible things happen between your parents or other people in relationships, you learn that love is not safe. Love is not a positive experience. And so even though like what I find is there's a lot of times like a very big gap. Like there's like I really want love. I'm desperate for love, but I'm also really afraid of it. And so that causes like this kind of push and pull. Like I want it, but I push it away. I want it, but I run from it. I want it, but it doesn't happen. I want it. Like an interesting way that this manifests is people that date people that they don't really fuck with anyway. Like people that date people, they're like, yeah, he's out of my league, so I'm not going to fall in love. He doesn't have a chance to hurt me, cool. But that's coming from fear because you're afraid of deep love. And then they're like, I don't know why I attract guys like this. I don't know why guys are like out of my league. And I don't know. I don't attract the man that I really like because you don't want to. Part of you doesn't want to. Part of you is afraid, like, oh, if I get the man that I want, I'm going to be hopelessly in love. And then what's he going to do to me? Right? Is it resonating?
All work in progress, okay? Like we're all a work in progress. I'm not perfect. Grace, I'm pretty sure you're not perfect. You have your you probably have your moments just as much as anybody else. This is why transparency and vulnerability is very, very important. You
Yeah.
don't hide. I don't like see on my platform. I don't like to hide nothing. Like I will come on here crying and I don't care because I know most people that talk about this kind of stuff, they don't share that side. They only share the. It's like this. People when they seem like, because I also model and I do photography, right? We only models or photographers, we are only showing you the pretty glammed up Photoshop version of the photo,
Right.
right? You're not seeing all of the planning that went into place, the vision board, the mood board, the finding the hairstylist, the amount of no's that we had to be told, the makeup artist, the model, the photographer, this, that, the wardrobe. You're not seeing the amount of times I probably had to fall. You're not seeing me getting, like, as a photographer, you're not seeing me having to get really, really low on the floor just to get one angle laying on the ground, getting my clothes dirty. You're not seeing that. You're not seeing when I also do background work and acting on set. Like, you're not seeing the amount of hours we were standing in the cold weather, in snowy weather outside trying to get a scene with Ice Cube on Law and Order. You're not seeing that. you're only seeing the finished product. Like, AKA, like Heaven said, the behind the scenes. You don't see that part.
Yeah.
So if it's like you're not seeing that part, why would you not trust the process for your own stuff? It's like, even when we're complaining on set or whatever, in that moment, yeah, I'm allowing myself to feel however it is, and I'm feeling cold, whether it's this, whether it's annoyed, hungry, tired. But does it mean that the work does not get done? No, you still get the work done. It's so for any of the new people that are watching me because of Grace, I recently graduated from Lesley University with a degree in holistic psychology and a specialization in expressive arts therapy and a double minor in cognitive neuroscience and photography. And I also in an accelerated master's degree. Thank you. An accelerated master's degree in mindfulness, and I graduated a whole year early. And the amount of times I could tell you on this live and go back to thank you and go back to, like, there are TikToks of me like crying, not knowing how my tuition was going to be paid for, not knowing, whether or not I was going to graduate it because my housing was not stable. My school is all the way in Massachusetts. I live in New York. Like, there were so many different moving things and so many different things happening that it looked like I was not going to graduate. But I graduated a whole year early. I graduated with being on the dean's list and being an honor roll. I did the thing that I was supposed to do. But some of the things that I've learned from the programs itself, and in particular the mindfulness program, trust me, it was definitely a crazy bridge of events. And the funny part about it is my school's motto is, I would have perished had I not persisted.
Damn.
That's my
Ooh.
school's motto. I didn't know until the day I graduated.
Wow.
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 Wow. Like, just wow. Like, you don't know how you're going to get it. Even in the beginning of the year, like, I genuinely did not know how I was going to graduate. I took 6 classes, all of which ended up being online and were originally supposed to be in person when I did not have a place to stay. And then somehow 2 weeks before the semester, I ended up being able to take all of my classes in New York before the start of the semester. So, like, so many different things, like, again, had to happen to get me to that point of being able to graduate. So many different moving pieces, but I had to trust it. But one of the biggest things that I learned in my mindfulness is this thing called impermanence, which means that nothing is permanent.
Right.
Just go with it.
Yeah.
Your feelings of anger, feelings of this, like, don't get attached to the feelings that you're feeling because it's temporary and it's just going to go away.
Yeah. I love that. Sheila, wow. Congratulations on all of that. You're amazing. And Sheila is a baddie, y'all. I mean, y'all can tell already. We recognize a baddie. But Sheila, her pictures, I'd be like, God damn. I think that's what I'd be commenting. But, I want to touch on what you said about vulnerability because, that's also how I rock, on my channel. I let them know. It's funny because the people on my channel probably know more about me and my life and my struggles than my friends because I feel more seen and understood with the people on my channel, and it's so funny though, because your authenticity, your vulnerability, that's what it's attractive. It's attractive. People, because it might be surface level attractive to be everything's perfect and I get everything every time and all of that. And y'all, I'm telling y'all from a coach's perspective, these people they feel like they have to be like that to sell you stuff. They're like, I can't tell her that my SP and I are sleeping in separate rooms. She's not gonna buy my course if I tell him that. So I'm gonna, I'm gonna say, my man's obsessed with me. He's doing this and that. You know what I'm saying? Like, So, but the truth is, though, this is another reason for the toxicity in the community, because this is why people are like so many people come up to me and they're like, Olivia, like I'm spiraling, I'm anxious, I'm afraid. Is this okay? Is that normal? I'm like, dude, yeah, you're a person. You're having a human experience. You know what I mean? You're having a human experience. It's okay. And but people are telling them, no, you can't be like that. No, you can't do that. Oh, stop doing this, stop doing that. And so it's once again creating more anxiety over the anxiety, anxiety for the anxiety, more fear for the fear, instead of just like my kind of motto that I tell people is let it all be okay. Let it all be okay. If you just let it all be okay, you're going to get what you want. Let it all be okay. Oh, you spiraled for a fucking week. Okay. Let it be okay. If you let it be okay, it's okay. Cause at the end of the day, I was about to rhyme. I'm like, damn, I sound like Dr. Seuss. But if you let it, if you let it be okay, it still can become what you say. Like you still can say at the end of the week of spiraling, I'm still gonna get what I want. Did we say at the same time? But for real, you could say, I'm still gonna get what I want. You can let that be all right. But when you resist the resistance, you're resisting the experience. Here's another thing. People are in a perpetual state of resisting their reality. Where I'm at is not right. Where I'm at's not good enough. Where I'm at is not what I want, right? And then they're wondering, oh, why isn't my reality shifting? Well, your idea that's reflecting is that reality is shitty. And so it's showing you that, period. Like, that's it. They're like, well, I'm waiting on, my mansion to spring up to the left of me and my husband to materialize to the right of me, and then I'll appreciate reality. But right now it's shitty, so that's how I feel. And it's like, okay, but your like reality is reflecting you in a moment to moment basis. It's reflecting who you're being in a moment to moment basis. So if you're being the person that's like, reality's not right and I'm waiting on it to change, then that's what reality is showing you. That's why we're in a perpetual state of waiting, or I'm manifesting, I'm trying. Yeah, you're on a layover in Trisville, right? You've been on a layover for like, damn, how long? Waiting for things to unfold. But the real quantum jump, the real instant manifestation is acceptance now that it is without any evidence. And it's so funny because this is the most basic principle of manifestation. And it's the most kind of not understood, I feel like, is like you are accepting something as true before you see anything. Not once you get the sign, not once something pops out, not once you get movement, but you're accepting it as true now. Now, that's what the law of assumption is, right? It happened now. What is an assumption? You're accepting it as a fact with no evidence. So you using the law of assumption and then waiting for evidence to claim your desire is ass backwards, right? That's why everybody's trying so hard. They're trying. It ain't no try, right? It's just either you are or you're not. And then they want to say, okay, if I am or I'm not, well, I'm looking at 3D and 3D says I'm not. Well, 3D is not the boss of you. You're the boss of you. You're the boss of 3D. But a lot of us, because we're trained to be like that, have relinquished our power to 3D. So 3D gets to tell us who we are, what to do, what's possible. But fuck that, right? Like coming into more impossible manifestations is coming up against the thing that you think is impossible and manifesting it anyways and claiming it anyways,
I want to hear an impossible
Yeah.
scenario. Quantum Queen knows. Quantum Queen knows because she was there for the last little bit of final stretch. So for the past 3 years while I've been in school, I had a situation with my apartment that I did not plan for because a month before I started school, I got sick with some appendicitis. My roommates broke their lease and moved out early, left me high and dry. I started having issues with my landlord. I was supposed to have new roommates. My landlord did not want to approve me of the roommates, so I fell behind in my rent. And for 3 years, I literally fought tooth and nail to be able to stay in my home and stay in my apartment. My apartment is a duplex apartment. Is $2,600. It's been the same amount of rent for the past 4 years. I used to live on the second floor, but then the landlord moved me because I was having issues with the girls that were upstairs. They moved me downstairs on the first floor. It's literally the first apartment as you walk in. Blessing in disguise. And I was on the verge of being evicted. Had a marshal come here and everything. And crazy turns of events happened where people gathered together to help me be able to stay here. Made the sheriff literally leave. Turn around, bought me more time to be able to get HRA to approve a one-shot deal for me to be able to stay here. And it overturned the eviction and everything. Like, people literally moved mountains to get me here. And that was literally what I was fighting, all while being in school simultaneously, all while taking 5 to 6 classes to graduate, going back and forth between New York and Massachusetts and going to court. And the first time the landlord tried to take me to court, fun fact, he spelled his name wrong, which bought me more time. Okay? He spelled his name wrong, which bought me time. Great. He had to start the process all over again. Then when I got to court, I had to be assigned a lawyer, so that delayed and got me more time. And then I continued to get more time and more time and more time. So while it looks like to somebody that's on the outside, it looks like, oh, your life is a show, like it's a shit show or whatever the case may be. Like, this shouldn't have happened. Oh, it looks lucky. Oh, this, oh, that. To that. Everything that was supposed to tell me no and gave me the complete opposite, somehow, some way has always turned itself around. And everybody keeps on saying, dude, can you make a show? Like, you need a show because, like, I don't understand how you have these shitty ass circumstances and you go from these extreme shitty circumstances to the complete opposite and it worked out. It's like, I panic, and it's for some reason that is my automatic response, is that panic, that anxiety, that I don't know how this is going to work out. And because I'm not, I will do a show, trust me, because I'm not used to that good, and my brain is like trying to, so your brains are always trying to predict something. That's just how your brains naturally are. That's what I learned in school, in consciousness and neuroscience. Your brains are constantly trying to figure out something based on, your previous experiences. But then when you're sitting here also reprogramming your mind with all these new beliefs and telling yourself that I'm this and everything always works out in your favor and all this extra stuff, your mind is now confused because it's like, wait, I'm used to this. I'm trying to predict something and I can't predict it because I have 2 different polarizing stories going on in my head. So how do I maneuver forward? I don't know what's going on. I'm literally like a freaking a fish trying to figure it out. Like, I'm swimming in this water I'm like Dory. That's your brain is like Dory trying to be like, you ever seen the meme with Dory and it has the little loading thing? That's our brains when you're trying to reprogram your mind. Because it's trying to predict something and it's like, I don't have evidence. I don't see anything. Keep in mind, I never saw evidence of any of this shit that I've ever manifested except for BBLs. I saw a bunch of BBLs, I saw a bunch of signs, but for the majority of the part, I never saw evidence. So when you don't see evidence, it literally drives you batshit crazy. Because you don't know what the heck to think. You don't know what to expect. Your mind is literally trying to play catch up. It's trying to predict, what do I do? How do I move? But sometimes the movement that you need is to sit your ass down. Yeah, sit your ass down. I had no phone for 3 months. while during this court, during my court process 1 year, and no phone for 3 months. A woman on my TikTok bought me a new phone.
Wow.
I'm on her phone plan. All of my bills are paid for in full. That taught me persistence. That taught me patience. That taught me be still.
Yes. Ooh, Sheila. So many gems. So many gems. I love that. It's amazing because y'all, it's so funny, Sheila. You remind me of me in a sense because I went through that too. Eviction, struggle. Yeah. We're kindred. It's so funny because when the Queen of Manifesting, she followed me on TikTok. She's a person I instantly follow her back. I don't try to be shady, you guys. I just don't usually follow people back, but I don't know. I was like, yup, right away. But I want to touch on some of what you just said because all of it's so good. You know what I was thinking of is like Karate Kid when he's like jacket on, jacket off, jacket on, jacket off. And he's teaching him a move through something that doesn't seem like he's teaching him anything, through something that seems like futile. That is what the struggle is, y'all. And here I'm gonna, because I've been coming into kind of a new awareness around creating from struggle. But when I tell y'all, this is the thing about struggling, y'all, okay, is that when you're going through a problem that logic can't fix, right? That you can't see a way, you have to trust. You don't have an option but to trust. You don't have an option but to manifest. And then you do that, and once again, and again and again and again, you come above impossible situations, right? Neville says if 100 men need to move, they will move. And Sheila's, both of her stories make that possible, or show that that's possible, show that that's true. Someone buying you a phone and paying your bill for you, y'all.
Still paying for. Still paid for. Okay. Still paid for. Phone's paid off, fully paid off as of now. Fully paid for.
Yeah. And this is the thing, y'all. Contrast forces us to create. It does. If you're rich, right? If Sheila was just rich, number one, she wouldn't be in that situation to begin with, right? If she was born rich with a trust fund, she would have just been like, Mommy, Daddy, they're kicking me out. Send me some money. There's no need to manifest, right? There's no need. Most people that get to, I think I actually spoke to one person recently who said she came to manifestation in a good place in her life. Most people come when things are in shambles, right? Because that's the only time that we're willing to believe beyond the senses. The past, where she's talking about, that's so interesting about the brain. I actually studied psychology in school too. And psychology and all of these things, like, they help you understand manifestation. I didn't finish studying it. I didn't study, like, you studied actual, like, you studied like the brain in manifestation, like in all different angles. So that's amazing. Like, and saying that the brain is looking to predict something, that's so real. And the key to kind of freeing yourself from that is stopping creating from the past, because that's where everybody gets caught up. That's where everybody gets limited because of what happened before or what didn't happen before. And they're allowing that to decide who they are in the now. And that's why you perpetuate the past, right? So as long as you're looking to the past, or even looking to the present, which is a manifestation of your past self, right? Then you're continuing to create from that. But that's why they talk about presence and spirituality. Being in the now is what allows you to make a new choice, right? You can't make a new choice from old evidence, right? You can't come into a new state based off of who you've always been. You have to make a new choice now and decide, right? I tell people all the time, decide that it's going to go your way. What do you mean decide? How do I decide? You're already deciding. You're already deciding. You're deciding that it's not going to go your way. You're deciding that it's not going to work out. You're deciding that it's impossible. You decided that, right? But what I've been coming to too, I heard somebody, who was I listening to? I don't remember, but they were talking about that creating from struggle is one level, like in the 3D. And then creating from bliss and joy is the 5D. I think actually it was Candace, Awaken the God Self with Candace. It was her masterclass. And she was talking about or maybe it was Brian. She was talking about creating from bliss and joy, y'all. And you can create from bliss and joy when you're present. When you can come beyond what has been, even what is right now, right? That's really manifesting, coming beyond what has been and what is, and coming into what you would rather, what you would prefer, right? Neville says to turn away from what is and turn towards what ought to be. What should it be? What if your ideal was what it was? And that's where your attention should be. But when you decide, because I feel like the struggle is like a boot camp for us. It's like a boot camp for us. And so from the struggle, we became master manifestors, no pun intended, right? We became masters at mastering our mind over the circumstance, right? But then once we realize, once we practice that enough, we realize that, damn, I am above the circumstance though. I don't have to keep letting the circumstance wash me over and take me under and then fighting myself back to the top. I can just be at the top, right? I can just decide that, you know what, things can be easy for me. Just like things have been hard, things can be easy. Just like I've had to work so hard for things, now I don't. Just like everything was going to shit before, now it's going wonderfully for me. You get to decide that, and coming into deciding to choose ease, right? Choose ease. Choose it to be easy for yourself. Realize who you are, right? But I do believe that self-love is kind of a right of way to the God state, because when you don't have when you don't love yourself, or when you don't see yourself in a good light, you can't take on higher concepts of yourself. That's the thing. You can only go so high in your mind when you deep down don't believe you're a good person, or that you're deserving, or whatever. And God is a very high self-concept, right? So if you believe I'm not shit, then it's kind of hard for you to be like, yeah, I'm all powerful. Yeah, I'm all amazing. So I do believe that self-love is a right of way into the real lasting God state, or I would say God's self-concept, because I think that we can all get into the God state, right? But having that as a self-concept, yeah, that actually makes sense. Like coming out of the God state as sometimes I'm feeling powerful, sometimes I'm not, and into the God self-concept that I'm God, no matter what is going on. It's all good. It's all me. It's all what I want. It's all manifesting in my favor, no matter what.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have something. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. There's a thing called, you know how you have in psychology, you have your therapy or whatever is like psychoanalysis. You're going to do a psychoanalysis. The opposite of psychoanalysis is psychosynthesis. I learned about it in my last semester. Something that I want to get a certificate in addition to becoming trauma informed. I want to do that. But there's two little passageways that I want to touch on, because what you were saying reminded me of what it says and brought up. I started thinking, psychosynthesis, maybe bring it up. So the first paragraph excerpt from it is, but in that instance, I realized that I was not a victim. It was only a role, and I could choose to play any role I wanted. I understood that I myself was in some very profound way distinct from all my roles and all my characteristics and possessions. It was as if I was stripped of everything that I had thought was me. This was that I had imagined dying would be like, would be like, yet there was there I was, more alive and more awake than I had ever been in my life. I don't really know how to describe it. I was just solid whole there. So that was how all these changes began. Now I have a deep sense of wholeness and an okayness inside, and even when I felt hurt and confused, I know that I'm really not these feelings. I am me. Of course, I still have to work at remembering all this, that I'm not a put down victim, and it isn't always easy. At times I get caught up in it again, but every time it is quicker and easier for me to come out from under. Since I began working on this, I've discovered all sorts of good things about myself. It is exciting just to be alive, to be me. That's the first part of it. The second part of it was that, but it was the observer of that observer who turned out to actually be the I. We can conceive of this sequence of observers as stepping stones by means of which we can control upstream along the river of our awareness toward its source. When we eventually reach the source, the second phase of this process occurs. This is reorientation of our awareness toward its source. It is consciousness turning back on itself and becoming self-aware. It is when consciousness is reflected back on its source, thus becoming true self-consciousness, that we can finally realize our individual identity. It's me. I am this. I am aware, and become one with it.
Wow. This is like, what is that again? You said psycho.
This comes from this book called Psychosynthesis Workbook.
Wow.
Bestie Carter Hare, Identity and Personal Freedom.
That is so dope. It's literally explaining like the law of assumption is the same. It's like the same exact thing.
Like in my classes, we talked about it. Like I've done presentations on it. Like we talked about it. It came up quite often in class and in school.
Yeah.
I learned about witchcraft.
Wow.
Like I learned about so many different topics, so many different things being in that program. It's like, wait, what? I'm learning this in school? Wait, hold on a minute.
Wow. Yeah, I think that shows, I mean, how connected all of this is. It's so funny because I realize like the journey kind of up the consciousness scale is coming from like separation to oneness. So like a lot of times when we like a lot of people feel like spirituality, science, and religion are different. They're different things. And like at the bottom, it's like, no, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. And then it's like, as you kind of go up the consciousness scale, they're all saying the same thing. They're all saying the same thing. Like, and so, yeah, like coming out of separation into oneness and that awareness that like what you're speaking about when you were reading, like right now, you guys, as you're listening to us, you are aware on a level, right? You're hearing us, you're interpreting what we're saying, but there's another level of awareness that's thinking about what you're saying. There's a part that's aware of you being aware. There's a part that's like, okay, the avatar lyric is listening to this live. Sheila is speaking on this live. Olivia is speaking on, they're watching us, right? But then there's even an awareness aware of that. And that awareness is like, when you try, you can't even put it into words because it's formless. It just is. That is the I am, right? And we condition the I am. I am what? God really conditioned the I am, right? God is the I am. It just is. And then God was like, well, what if I was something, right? Because God being everything, being oneness can't experience itself because it is all that is, right? So it was like, what if I didn't know I was all that is? Like, what if I thought I was just a piece of it? What if I didn't know if I was even a piece of it? I just thought I was this little whatever. What is that like to condition the I am? I am what? Olivia. And then as Olivia, I take on more conditions. Olivia is what? A teacher. Cool as shit. Whatever we want to say. But none of those things, like coming back to the I am, is realizing that you're not any of those things anyways, right? As much as it pains me to say, yeah, I'm not really cool as shit, right? Like I can take on that concept, I can act as that, I can play that role on earth. But even Olivia, yeah, I might be in this body. The parents might have named me Olivia, but is that really who I am? It's who I'm being, but who I am is so beyond all of this, right? It's beyond who I am. It ain't no who. It just is.
Emptiness. I was obsessed with, and I still am. There's this prayer, this mantra. And I don't know if it's a prayer or if it's a mantra, but it's you can find it on YouTube if you type it in. You might not be able to understand it, but it's okay. It'll make you cry. Okay, it's gonna make you cry. It's called the Heart Sutra. Basically, if you read it like in English terms, it's not gonna make no sense, but it's gonna make you be like, wait, what? Because it talks about emptiness and how consciousness is the emptiness, like no hate, no this, no lack, no eyes, no hands, no, like it's empty. Mm-hmm. So if you understand it, it's the Heart Sutra. So if you understand that it's empty and there's nothing at the end of the day, that we're just all particles and cells and atoms and all of this extra stuff, why would you sit here being like, okay, well, this can't change? You know how many atoms on an individual molecular structure don't change, like, are changing? Okay, on a molecular, like, I had to take cell and molecular biology. Okay, I absolutely hated it. I got an A in the class.
Period.
But I took it as an independent study. Now, I did not realize that what I was learning in cell and molecular biology was also simultaneously connected to the nutrition class that I had to take. But I also didn't understand that the nutrition and the cell and molecular biology was also to some degree also connected to the brain and to the consciousness part of it too. Like, we also don't talk about enough in this community how much you need vitamins, how much you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, how much you need to make sure you're giving your brain what it needs. Because how do you expect to manifest whatever it is that you want and your brain is not functioning properly?
Shit.
We don't realize or talk about that part enough. Like, your brain needs electrolytes, it needs magnesium, it needs all these different things to be able to function. The number one thing that our bodies do not get, that doctors do not prescribe, and they don't want to prescribe this to you, magnesium. We need that.
Yeah.
Why do we need that? It's because it doesn't make us stress. It lowers cortisol levels. If you're drinking coffee is probably not something you should be drinking. All coffee does is shuts down certain neurotransmitters in your body and your brain, and it turns down the adrenaline transmitters, and then you end up crashing. And if you're stressed or you have high cortisol levels, you don't want to be drinking coffee, because all coffee does, and the caffeine in coffee does, is it's raising your cortisol levels, which in turns make you more stressed, which makes you less likely to be in a cool, calm, and collected state of mind. So it kind of does the complete opposite. So I end up drinking matcha, which, yes, it has caffeine in it. However, it also has L-theanine in it, which is good for your brain. And then I mix my matcha with the shilajit, which gives me energy at a cellular level. And this goes back to understanding the cell and molecular biology, because once you understand yourself at a cellular level, you understand that you can change everything.
Wow. I love that. I love that. I think like what that makes,
Science.
yeah, it makes me think of wholeness, right? Because I think that a lot of times most of us are hyper focused on one part of health, whether that's mental health, whether that's spiritual health, whether that's physical health. But the wholeness is focusing on all of them and having all of them balanced and regulated. I 100% agree with that. That's why I preach meditation so much to people, because I'm like, y'all, manifestation is a mind game. If you have no control over your mind, you're going to have a hard go at it. You just are, you know? If you can't regulate your nervous system, if you can't create calmness in your body, right? Which actually just made me think of something like meditation allows you to create calmness. It's allowing you to create a state without external stimuli, right? So you're not coming into calmness because you just woke up on vacation on the beach. You're creating calmness in ordinary, everyday circumstances. And so you're teaching yourself to not only just create calmness, but how to create any state, right? I've been realizing lately that the state is actually probably one of my better ways to manifest, because I'm a very energetic person. So everything is a feeling to me, you know? And so it's easier for me to catch a feeling. It's easier for me to feel what if it were true and to lose myself in that energy. And that, but what's made that easy for me is meditating. Meditating, like I always tell people, like, I'm not, like, when I wake up, I'm not the same person that I am before, like, or after I meditate. Like, my consciousness rises significantly in meditation. Like, in just maybe 15, the longest I'll do is like 30 minutes. You know, most of the time it's like 20 minutes. And that 20 minutes is enough to shift me to another, like a whole other consciousness. And then I can enter states from that formless, conceptless version. It's interesting because Neville actually teaches that too in his book. He teaches you to come, he says, just to meditate on I am, right? Which I don't do, but come into, like, this is the thing that I wanted to say when we were talking about like the identities that we take on. The reason why people stick with an identity is because they keep believing it instead of realizing that they're choosing it. They feel trapped in it. Like, oh, this is how I've been my whole life. So this is the only way for me to be. And I need something outside of me to give me permission to be somebody new, to identify new. But when you come beyond the story, recognize it as a story. Everything is just a story. Like, it's almost like for you, like Sheila is a model. So your different shoots have different themes. You might be like, let's say you're doing like a ballerina shoot, you know, and you're being a ballerina. And then they're like, Sheila, okay, we're about to take you to like a truck stop. We're going to do a truck stop shoot. And Sheila's not going to be like, oh my God, I can't do that. I'm a ballerina. Like, I can't be in a dirty, like, dirt place. Like, I don't want to do that. No, Sheila's not a ballerina. She's not a truck stop hot girl. She's Sheila. She's just playing the part of each of these. So she can easily say, okay, I'm done being the ballerina and now I'm going to be the truck stop person. You know, and when you can look at your identities that way and your states that way, that, okay, I've been the broke ass person. That's enough. Right. But I'm not really that. Like, the thing that I'm so convinced that I am, I'm not really that. I've been choosing that. I've been identifying as that. And really what I am is beyond anything, right? It's beyond anything. So I just get to choose, what do I want to be now? Like, now I can choose. I'm not trapped here. It's just a role that I'm playing. We're just playing out the role of the play that we're writing right now.
That part. That part. Damn, that part. And it's funny because when you sit here thinking of, like, when you really sit here thinking about it, meditating, as somebody who literally has to do it for school, I have to do it. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, we are required to meditate every day, 30 minutes every day. Now, meditate, everyone thinks that meditation is this thing where you have to sit down. And that's how you have to meditate. But there are so many different ways of meditating that you don't realize it. Like, there's walking meditation where you're walking back and slowly pacing. There's sitting. There's laying down. There's metta, practicing metta, which is kind of similar to Ho'oponopono, kind of, but not exactly. There are so many different forms of meditation, just like there's so many different forms of therapy. Like, don't be so against therapy. Like, you can do talk therapy, there's music therapy, there's dance therapy, there's expressive arts therapy, there's art therapy, play therapy. Like, many of the followers that I have on here, they play Sims just like I play Sims. I use the Sims to help me manifest. That is play therapy. When you're playing to, release that emotion, but I manifest it with using the Sims. There's there's phototherapy. Okay? Phototherapy. That one put me in for a whole loop, because I was like, wait, there's a thing called phototherapy? I didn't know this. But we don't realize that there are so many different ways to meditate, and there's so many different ways for therapy, because we're not taught that. Had I not gone back to school to learn that, I don't even know what to think. And I've always had an interest in psychology, just like I always had an interest in manifesting and, having faith and spirituality and everything. Like, I always had some type of interest in this. But it took finding law of assumption for me to find the other part, like the other part of it. The other part of it is understanding the science part. The other part of it is understanding this. I didn't know you can study consciousness and get a master's degree in consciousness. I didn't know you can get a master's degree in parapsychology. What? I can study this? Like, I didn't know that. But had I not found law of assumption, I wouldn't have been able to find any of this other stuff. And I think law of assumption at its core, and in addition to all of the other like laws, that's what makes science. Because I honestly feel like all science it's a bunch of freaking theories that everyone is trying to prove is right. That's literally all it is. And until you can prove something to be a fact, it is a assumption that you're trying to prove right. You get a hypothesis. Let's break this down. Okay? Let's break this down as the neuroscientists in me would like to break it down. Okay, your SP. You have an hypothesis. Your SP is madly in love with you. That is the hypothesis. You gotta test out that hypothesis and figure it out through trial and error whether or not he is madly in love with you. And how do you do that? Self-concept. Listening to subliminals, your affirmation tapes, your meditation, whatever it is, until that assumption can be proven as true and a fact. Till then, it is a hypothesis. Makes it so much easier when you think about it as a hypothesis than trying to force yourself to change it. Because then you have fun with it. Then you test it out and you play around.
Yeah. I like the test it out. I like that approach to manifesting, because I feel like it gives you the ability to wonder, like, and to explore and to have fun, because a lot of people, like, let's take something like revision. And, changing the past, wow, that sounds impossible. That sounds crazy, right? So then people are like, oh, well, I'm going to try and figure out revision. I'm going to try and understand it. Or I'm going to try and, I need to know exactly what's going to happen. Tell me what's going to happen. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I don't even know what's going to happen when I revise. All I know is just to try it. Just imagine. Just give it to yourself in imagination instead of saying, I can't do this thing until I know exactly how it works and exactly what's going to happen and exactly. Just try it. Like, so many people, they stay in that state of like spinning. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't get it. That doesn't make sense. But did you assume something yet? But did you manifest something yet? Did you actually try? Because that's going to teach you. That's going to teach you more than watching videos, than reading success stories, than even reading Neville. That's why I always tell people, try it, do it. And then when you have the experience over and over and over and over and over, then when you read the stuff, it makes sense. It's connecting dots because it's like, oh, this is what that was. Like, this is what it was trying to tell me, So yeah, I like that approach. I tell people to try it. Even Neville said it too. Try it. Don't believe me. Don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself and see. Mm-hmm.
You cannot not try it. It's
Yeah.
just, you could be in the comment sections all day long and be like, oh, well, my circumstances are this, and this. But it's like, okay, I see you, but are you doing it? Are you applying it? Are you testing it out? Are you doing your own research? Like, don't listen to me. You don't believe me? Google it. I that used to be my phrase, is you don't believe me, Google it. But then I changed it and I was like, you know what? You don't believe me? Test it out.
Yeah.
Just test it out, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to really know that it works, is by testing it out.
Yes.
Like, nothing is off the table. I think that after going through everything that I've gone through, nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, is off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't be like, oh no, it doesn't. I can't sit here being like, oh no, it doesn't work. No, I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes that it works, down to telepathy, down to all of that. Like, I literally have seen it. Like, it works. Oh, 1 second. Bestie, are you dressed? Huh? This is Bestie. Hi. We manifested each other back. So I had to come down here. And fun fact, we were in no contact, and now she's my whole roommate.
Oh, I love that.
Just goes to show you that literally anything is just possible. You
Yeah.
like have to get yourself out of the notion of like, oh, this is not possible. This is not, like, anything is possible.
Yes. Yes. You can only experience that when you try. That's the thing. Until you try it, that's why, like, I'll do a live and I'll be like, anything's possible. Like, people are manifesting crazy things. Like, this 5-year-old, he was born without a hand. He grew a hand, like, with prayer only. And then people will be like, okay, yeah, but can I manifest a text? I'm like, dude, like, what do you mean? Like, are you hearing anything is possible? Are you hearing that? And that comes from not understanding the connection between mind and reality. And the connection between mind and reality can only be understood when it's exercised, when you try it. Because, as you know, we're all born here muggles. Unfortunately, we're all born here thinking we have no power. Life happens to us and we just have to deal with it. To override that belief, you need to see that shit happen. And not just once or twice, not just, oh yeah, I thought of this person and they called me. No, you need to do that shit a few times, over and over and over. That's why in the state, just like Sheila was saying, and like what I was saying, like when you're in dire situations, you have that evidence to rely on, that my mind does create, period. So if it's something I need, I know where to go. I know who to call upon, right? Call upon self.
yourself.
Yeah.
Even in those moments, like even in those moments, like okay, yeah, I could easily just, I could easily want to give up. I could easily give up, but what does giving up do? Like, and don't, again, it's not like we're not saying, oh, you have to be perfect, because it's not about being perfect. It's about the growth and the evolution. Like, you're allowed to have your bad days. You're allowed to feel however it is that you're gonna feel. You're allowed to feel that way. Like, it's fine. I literally, Dusty can vouch for this. I just got out of a 5-day spiral session. Okay? She's like, she can tell you that. I'm not. I'm not. And thank you for the roses. Like, I have my moments just as anybody else has their moments, but when you get out of that, does that mean, where are you redirecting yourself? Are you redirecting to yourself back to the, oh, things are still gonna work out? Like, are you telling yourself that somehow, some way, that this is gonna work out? Are you saying to yourself that even though this happened, I can still get what I want? Like, what are you telling yourself in those moments? Like, those are the things that you have to be mindful of. That's the mindfulness aspect of it. You don't want to be mindful, you want to be mindful. Like,
Yes.
but the mindfulness and the mindful is the clutter. Mindful is when you're being mindful in those moments and where you're directing yourself to. What are you telling yourself in those moments of desperation? What are you telling yourself in those moments where it looks like you're not getting what you want? Those are those are the moments that are going to change the bank account statements. Those are the moments that's going to change where you're going.
Yes. 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 I love that. Awareness, y'all. Awareness. This is why I tell people, they say, how do I switch my state? How do I maintain a state? You have to be aware of yourself. Most of us are not even aware that we've fallen out of the state until we're so damn deep down in it. You know what I mean? So we're overtaken by it. Right. But when you become aware of, even whether you're in the state, out of the state, when you become aware of the story I'm telling, it's so interesting, you guys, because like in a lucid dream, right? Like one way to lucid dream is to like keep track of your dreams and notice reoccurring themes, right? That are happening in your dream. And that, so that when you're dreaming again, it triggers you to wake up, right? So let's say, like for me, like I'll dream about like animals, like I'll dream about like multiplying animals, like there's like 5 puppies like around me in my house or something like that, right? So the next time I have a dream where there's 5 puppies, it's going to trigger me to like, oh wait, maybe I'm dreaming, and to do like a dream check. Okay, am I dreaming? Like whatever. It's the same thing with being aware of yourself in this reality, right? Because when you're just thinking, and all you know at the end of the day is like, it was a shit day. But you don't know what's the story. Why am I thinking, right? You don't know, what am I telling myself, right? What am I telling myself? What's the story that I keep running, right? Oh, that nothing I do is going to work for me. That I never get what I want, right? That's actually kind of like a hidden belief, you guys. I never get what I want. I don't get what I want. Like, you're telling yourself that story and things are unfolding that way, but you can only be aware of yourself telling that story when you become aware of yourself, right? When you watch yourself, when, you know, like Sheila said, when your mind is full and you're lost in it, but you can come above that and be the observer and see your full mind and see, like, from the top point of view, oh wow, this is a belief that's like, I never get what I want. There's a belief that people don't like me. There's a belief that I fail at everything I do. Oh, these are the programs. These are the things that I'm thinking. And how can I redecide? How can I decide again and choose again?
You're always choosing. Like, you're literally always choosing. There's a thing that I think I did a video on it. It's somewhere on my page in the consciousness playlist. And there's a theory. I forgot who it's by, but it's called the infinite hotel theory. And in the infinite hotel theory, I got this from, there's a show on Netflix. I think it's called Infinity.
Mm-hmm.
If you type in consciousness or infinity on Netflix, you'll find the documentary. But basically, infinity is such a huge number. Our brains cannot compute it.
Right.
It's always going to keep going, going and going and going and going. But because of how our brains are operating, our brains can't compute the aspect of, oh, well, there's an infinite amount of numbers of ways or things that can happen. This is why we're always saying that we don't get to control the how or the when something happens. And we don't get to control that. Like, it's like the chaos is breaking down those negative beliefs, that old programming. That's the chaos, right? But the beauty in the chaos is that out of that chaos, you get a rainbow. After the storm, you get a rainbow. There's always a rainbow after a storm. I like to think of myself as Scarlet Witch. Why? Scarlet Witch is so badass and so powerful that she controls literally everything. Get her pissed off, she's going to create chaos. Chaos magic. Chaos magic at its fundamental core is being able to switch in between identities, being able to switch in between your beliefs, adapting to different beliefs. That's what the essentialness of chaos magic is. It's being able to change and switch and being able to use different types of beliefs. If I wanted to go back to thinking and believing in God, I could do that. If I wanted to do this, I could do that. I don't consider myself, I'm not an atheist, no. Do I believe in God? Yes. But I'm an omnist. I like to see the truth in everything.
I love that.
You see the truth in everything. It gives you that ability to be fluid. As a Pisces, I'm a water sign, so I'm very fluid. I'm very flow. I'm very watery. I'm very emotional. Go with the water. Like, you gotta flow. It's like my bestie is a Sagittarius. She's a fire sign. Fire signs and water signs are a very unlikely pair, but it works. It works. It works. And because of the duality of duality of it, she helps me get out of my comfort zone. I help her. It's the give and the take, the yin and the yang. It's the duality. You gotta have the both. Aww. I'm always attracting Sagittarius everywhere I go. See? Everywhere I go. Like, you gotta be able to have both. You can't have one without the other.
Yes. Yes.
It goes hand in hand. And Sean talks about it. They go hand in hand. That's how you decipher who it's the blueprint of who you are. So I have to give it up.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's giving us the opportunity to choose. Because if there's nothing to choose between, it's kind of like if you had your favorite food while you're full, like you just ate a big ass steak, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, and then somebody's like, okay, I'm taking you to your favorite restaurant right now. It's like, yeah, it should be an enjoyable experience, but it's not, because you're already full. You don't have any desire for it. But if you're hungry, you're starving, and you go get your favorite food, that shit gonna slap. It's going to slap. Right? Like, and that is basically, that hunger is something that God can experience as God, as a formless energy, right? It can't experience hunger. Oh my God. gosh. Look at the puppy. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Oh, stop. They're so cute. My cat is, oh, she was asleep. She just got up. I guess she like, are we, look how she looking like. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, did y'all see that? The lights are flickering. Shit. Noelle says, I thought we had to give up astrology when we buy the pearl. So buying the pearl, you guys, you don't have to give up things that are fun to you, but what you don't want to say is, like, I'm a Cancer, so I'm a water sign too, Sheila. But I'm not going to say, oh, I'm a Cancer, I'm too sensitive, I can't be empowered. You know what I mean? I'm not going to use that, or I'm not going to say, me personally, I'm not going to say, oh, Mercury's in retrograde, so I'm not manifesting until 3 months from now. When you believe that something has power over you. Now, for me, when it comes to astrology, it's something that I see. It's like when I first, astrology is actually what brought me into spirituality. Cause I was like, why does this thing know me? This thing doesn't know me. Like, how does it know how I am? Like, and I'm seeing it's true, through this person, that person, this person. But it's just not subjecting yourself to anything, to put something over the power of your mind, knowing that the power of your mind is what creates any of that anyways. I don't have a ghost lyric. It's raining over here. It's raining over here, so I don't know what's going on.
That's true. It's just a matter of like where are you giving your energy? Like what are you giving the power to?
Yes.
What are you giving the power to? Like me and Bestie, we have a pinky swear promise that we're not gonna give power to our circumstances. We're gonna work on not reacting.
I love that.
It's like we do a lot of it sometimes. So that is our challenge, is to work on not reacting as much. Okay, as much. I say as much because that's it's a lot when you're trying to navigate your circumstances. There's no blueprint on how to freaking deal with your 3D. There's no blueprint. There's no right or wrong answer on how to do it. Like we can give you all the tips and tools and whatever else, but realistically, there is no blueprint on how to navigate your 3D, especially like when I was going through the whole eviction thing. I'm like, I don't see no success stories. Like, I don't see anybody talking about this. I see a bunch of how to manifest getting a new apartment, like homelessness. I see this, I see that. I don't see nothing on the very thing that I'm going through. Where is that? Like, you have to be the success story. You have to be the example. You have to be the validation. You have to be the inspiration. You have to be that person that is going to get what they want and do it to the point at which you're inspiring somebody else. If I sat here and didn't feel like getting on TikTok, even though there are plenty of days where I don't want to get on TikTok sometimes because I'm going through it. But even on those days, if I did not come on here making the type of videos that I do, I would not be inspiring. You don't know who's watching your story, no matter how many views you get or how many likes you get. You don't know who's watching you. Mm-hmm. And you have no idea. And I can't help but laugh because Zara's over here trying to get Bestie's attention while she's recording that whole TikTok. But that's besides the point. You gotta learn how, like, you genuinely have to be extremely deliberate about where your focus is going, like Noah said. You have to. It's like, why would you want to subject yourself to paying attention to what you don't want when all you know is, for all you know, that even though you're seeing what you don't want, for all you know is setting you up to have what you do want. But you have no idea. And going back to cell and molecular biology, entropy. What does entropy mean? It means something has to expand and blow up to be new again, essentially. So think of your mind as a form of entropy. Think of your circumstances as entropy. They are breaking down. The old is breaking down and breaking itself down to give you exactly what it is that you want.
Yes.
You got to remove the old to get the new. I don't care what anybody else says or what any other coach says. That there, some people who are like, oh, there's no purge, there's no this. Like, I'm sorry, not sorry. You have to break down the old to get to the new. Sometimes you just, and it might be a limiting belief for me to say that, but life is a process. You don't rush baking a cake. In the same way you don't rush baking a cake, why would you rush your manifestations? Because it's like you're skipping the journey part.
Mm-hmm.
Like that part never made sense to me. Like, I'm all for instant manifestations, but one thing that never makes sense to me is, why are you skipping over life? It never made sense. Yeah, there's the if you believe in the purge too, like, yeah, there's that too. I think it also just depends on the perspective, and this depends on the who's experiencing what. Like, if you have the trauma or if you don't. Like, it varies depending on who it is. Like, if you have trauma, I am not gonna sit here being like, okay, there's not gonna be a purge. Like, that takes a little more fine tuning.
Yeah.
You gotta be a little bit more gentle with the people that have trauma as opposed to the people who've not really experienced that trauma.
Yeah. I think the purge comes from fear, because when you've been acting and creating from fear, and then you're wanting to create something really wonderful, the fear is still there, right? Like the fear basically swells. Okay, so this is kind of disgusting, you guys. I was gonna make a video about it, but I'm gonna talk about it. So I had like a little bump, right? The bump was like this big, you guys, on my chest. And one day I finally was like, I'm gonna manifest this away. Like, I'm gonna manifest this away. And when I did, y'all, I swear to you, first of all, I had the bump for like at least 6 months, maybe longer. And it just stayed how it was. The moment I decided I'm going to manifest it away, it started to grow. And it grew to a cyst the size of a golf ball, like this big in my chest. Yes, in my chest. And so I use something called colloidal silver. I want to tell you guys about it just in case any of you guys. It's like a dark brown liquid, but it pulls out infection. Like, my mom used it on my brother. He had staph on his cheek when he was in school, and I remember his cheek was swole, and she put the colloidal silver and it healed it just like that. So I kept that memory. So I would soak a cotton ball and put it on the cyst, and every day it would pull out stuff out of the cyst. And so, say that again.
You're gonna have to write that, DM me that, so
Yeah.
I could like look that up.
Yeah, Juana put it right there, colloidal silver. I can send you the link though, because there's different, like, what they call ppms. I don't even know what that is. Juana put it in the chat, y'all. That's what it is, colloidal silver. But it pulls out infection, y'all. I know all kind of natural healing things like aloe vera. If you have any, aloe vera will actually pull things out of you too. Aloe vera has antibacterial and healing properties. It's very soothing and healing at the same time. But anyways, so the cyst was like, when the moment I decided, oh, I want this thing to be gone. It grew so big, y'all, that I had to do something about it, right? I had to do something about it. When it was a little pimple, hey, Caramel, when it was a little ass pimple, it was like, whatever. It wasn't doing anything. It wasn't really bothering me. It was like, whatever. But the moment I said, okay, it's time for it to go, it got so big that I had to make sure that it went. I had to make sure. And so sometimes that's what happens like in our 3D. And I get it because yes, I agree. I actually agree with both. I agree that there doesn't necessarily have to be a purge, but just like Sheila said, when you're moving through, depending on the amount of trauma that you're moving through, depending on the amount of fear that you're moving through, that can manifest as a purge, because this is a thing. When you're moving through trauma into a better experience, the trauma is fucking scary. You don't want to go back there, but the unknown is also fucking scary. So yourself is fighting through fear at both sides. Yourself is like, shit, either way I go, whether it's the old story or the new, it's scary as fuck. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then when you don't honor that, right? I call it the law of YouTube. All these people teaching stuff, they don't, and I'm not saying they don't know what they're talking about, but they know what they're talking about on a surface level. They know what they're talking about. They the type, ask, believe, receive. Oh, type 1111 in the chat to receive type shit that's not going to help you. That's not really going to help you. Right? I'm dead ass. But the more fear that you're moving through is the more that your ego is going to try and convince you and lull you back to sleep, put you back to the old story. Yeah, that new story sounds nice, but even if we're in trauma and we're in struggle and pain, at least this is familiar. At least we can predict it, like Sheila said earlier, right? Well, I can predict the trauma route. I can predict the trauma timeline. I can predict the shitty timeline. So let's just stay there. I can't predict wonderfulness, right? I can't predict wonderfulness. I can't predict, someone being madly in love with me. I've never experienced that. That must be terrible too. So let's just go back to what we know is terrible. Then we can anticipate that it's terrible, right? And then we'll be safe. We're a little bit more safe if we know it's terrible and then we're right. But we're really unsafe if we think it's wonderful and it turns out to be terrible. So yeah, the purge. Now I will say, this is what I was saying earlier about coming beyond struggle, right? Coming beyond struggle, because we can create on 2 different levels, really 3. We can create as the avatar, as Olivia, as Sheila, and then we can only create so much. Then we're subject to the laws, to physical laws, to logic. Well, we can also create as the God, right? We can create as the being that took on the concept of Olivia and Sheila. And when you come above that, God doesn't need to struggle. Y'all, dead ass, God is struggling for fun. God is struggling as us for fun. God's like, okay, everything's instant and amazing. That's boring. I want a little drama. I want a little razzle dazzle. What's it like to almost be evicted? Ooh, I'm going to see, right? Like, God can't experience that. God can't experience lack. So he's like, but what if I believed that I could? What if I forgot who I was, right? What if I forgot who I was and I thought that I was limited? And then what if I lived a life like that? That would be really lit. And then as us, you guys that are on this live and that follow Sheila and follow me, we decided, what if we thought we were what if we thought we were limited and then we remembered that we're limitless? And then what if we acted as God on all type of different levels, right? All type of different levels. There's no level, y'all. To me, my ultimate goal, or my ultimate guide, or my ultimate mentor that I want to be like as a manifester is Jesus. Because Jesus never affirmed for shit. He didn't script for shit. He didn't go and say, oh, excuse me, Lazarus. let me go put in some subliminals about raising people from the dead. Okay, I can raise people from the dead. I can do this. Death is not real. It's not real. I have a self-concept of a person that can raise people from the dead. Like, no. He just was like, yo, get up. Like, get up. Oh, that person's dead? No, they're literally sleeping. Like, stop tripping, y'all. It's cool. You know, oh, like, you know, whatever. Like, oh, you think you're sick? You're not. JK, haha, got you. Thought you was sick. You not. Like, I want to manifest like that. So what I have to do is keep climbing the levels of consciousness. I have to come against the belief that says, girl, you can never be that. Right? And go to the being that knows that I already am that. Right? Yeah.
I mean, it's true. It's like you can't exactly. Have you guys seen the movie Are We There Yet? Have we all seen that movie, right? You know how the kids get in the car and they're so excited to go on this trip, right? They're so excited to go on this trip. When they get in the car, they're like, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Too late to go back now." They're bored as hell. Too late to go back. Can't go backwards. You started the journey already. You already got in the car. Even when the GPS tries to reroute you, tries to bring you another way, even when a 18 million might try to throw you off the damn freaking road, like, you can't go back. But are we there yet? Did we get there yet? I just want to get there. And then when you get there, you're excited. You're like, damn, I went through all of that and now I'm here. How many times have we literally, how many times, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, have we got into the car and we're like, are we there yet? The same thing applies to all of our manifestations. Since we are all, everyone is you pushed out and we're all a reflection of each other, how many times have you started something, trying to manifest something new and you're like, are we there yet? You're so excited, and then when life decides to life, you're like, damn, I want to go backwards. I don't want to do this no more. I want to give up. I don't want to persist. Like, just stay on the path, just stay on the journey. You have to get to the journey. And if you don't want to get to the journey, well, maybe you just don't want it bad enough. Maybe you don't want it as much as you say you want it. Like, and it's okay, Ty, if you're there, like, that's fine. Like, that's fine too. You're allowed to have those moments where you're like, are we there yet? You're allowed to have that. But don't let that stop you. Don't let that derail you. Don't let that be like, okay, no, I'm not going to, just because I feel like this means I'm not getting what I want. No, you still get what you want. You're not control of the how. You're not control of the when. Like, I started reading this book. Can't remember what the name of it at the top of my head, but I think it's by this guy named Michael or something. I think it's The Miracle, and he talks about Neville Goddard. But one of the things that it talked about, or that Wanda mentioned when it came down to listening to fake coaches, in the book it says so many people want to talk about this kind of stuff, but they don't have any evidence. They're fake. But we don't have, some of us don't have, when we first get into this, we don't have that discernment to know who's real and who's not. Some of the success stories that you might be listening to might be fake. If they're like way back when people first started, according to the book, way back when, at some point, there were no records of being able to track whether or not a success story was real or not. Now some of these people who wrote books on this kind of stuff, like, gotta use your discernment. The same thing comes now with things being more fast-paced and in your face, and with us having the internet. This is why you gotta be very careful with the coaches and the people you're listening to.
Yeah.
Like, use your discernment. Like, we're not sharing our experiences because we are sharing our experience.